Hey friends, what is up and welcome back to my channel. As you guys can tell from the title of today's video, I'm doing my April wrap up. I keep wanting to say May. This year is flying by. April is always one of those months that I don't really remember. Nothing really happens in April, followed closely by February. February I sort of remember a little bit better though because my birthday is in that month. But today I wanted to sit down and talk to you guys all about all of the books that I read in the month of April. Now, I did set a TBR. It was a pretty lofty TBR and I didn't read much of what was on that TBR. So my TBR video will be coming tomorrow if you guys are interested in that. It is much smaller. I kind of wanted to cater it around about how much I was able to read this month. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started and show you guys all of the books that I read in the month of April. So I'm actually going to start with the books that I do not currently have because they were borrowed from the library or from Kindle Unlimited. I did try Kindle Unlimited for a month. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I feel like their selection kind of sucks, so I don't think that I'll be continuing with it, but I did read a couple of gems that I did enjoy, most of which were comics. The first one I want to talk about is Brave Chef Brianna. I ended up giving this 4 stars, I think. Yeah, 4 stars. I really liked it. It's about our main character, Brianna. She is from a family of chefs. Her and her, I think, 14 brothers are all chefs. They all start restaurants when their dad is diagnosed with an illness that is eventually going to kill him. And she moves to essentially Monster City to start this restaurant, and it was very cute. It was a little bit different than I thought it was going to be. Judging by the cover of it, I thought it was just going to be fantastical, but it actually had a lot of anxiety rep in it. Our main character, Brianna, does suffer from anxiety. She also suffers with like self-worth. It was actually really good. It was a little bit more in depth than I thought it was going to be. The only reason I gave it 4 stars instead of 5 is I didn't absolutely love it. So I would recommend it to people, but I wouldn't say it is the best comic that I have ever read. The next comic I did read, however, that I truly enjoyed, I read volumes 1 through 4 of Goliath Girls. I will leave the first edition here on the screen for you guys. I really liked this. This is about a group of girls who are part of a team that hunt these things called Goliaths. They actually have one that they have saved that they use to hunt the Goliaths, but you find out later that they're not really hunting them, they're trying to protect them. So it is beautifully drawn. The art style, it mirrors what you see on the cover. It's very colorful, it's very crisp and clean, and I really liked that. There is lesbian rep in it as well. There is just a bunch of badass girls, but they're not tackily badass. You know what I mean? Like, you ever read some comics and the girls are just trying too hard? I feel like these girls did it really well. Now, I can't really go into other than that what the series was about because I don't want to spoil the later volumes for you guys. If you do have Kindle Unlimited, this is where I read it. It is done by Comixology. It is an original and you cannot get it anywhere else other than on Amazon and only in ebook format, unfortunately. Now, the next book I read is actually One Day in December. I ended up giving this 3 stars. This follows our 2 main characters, Lori and Jack. Lori and Jack kind of meet. Lori is sitting on a bus, Jack is sitting at the bus stop, and they lock eyes and they fall in love, and Lori spends a year trying to find Jack. And one day Lori's best friend and roommate actually brings Jack home as her boyfriend. A year has passed since they have first met. And the story follows their relationship and kind of their other relationships and the relationships with the other characters. And it was cute. I did struggle with the dual perspective. It was really jarring jumping from Lori to Jack. I feel like it was really weird. Also, the story did kind of drag on because I believe there are 10 years that pass within the confines of the story. And I believe the story was about 400 pages or less. So it didn't seem like there was enough pages to kind of encompass everything. And I feel like the main characters really bugged me and I wanted more of the secondary characters. The secondary characters are why I ended up giving this 3 stars at all. Now, it wasn't the worst book I've ever read, but not my favorite of like the meet cute kind of romancy books. But I mean, if you are into longer, more dense stories, or I would just say more dense stories, because like I said, the book isn't that long, you'll really like this, I think. Lori is a pretty unlikable character for me. She is pretty selfish and does like to, at the same time, be walked all over. I didn't really connect with Jack either. Jack just seemed like a playboy to me the entire time, and I didn't really care about him. There are cute moments in the story that sort of make up for the lack of characters, but overall, I would give it 3 stars and not 4. If you want my full review, I will link the review that I did on Goodreads down below, as well as I believe I talked about this in a vlog, and I'll list that up here up on the screen for you guys if you want to watch that and get my full thoughts. I did read this earlier on in the month of April, and I didn't really love it, so I don't remember a whole lot of the positive things that I thought about the book, but if you want the full review, like I said, you can find that there. Now, the next book I read was actually the Kiss Quotient. I really liked this book. Our main character is Stella, and she is autistic, and she is being bullied by her mom basically to find a husband, and she just thinks about what a relationship is about and how to kind of find a husband and to start dating and where to start with that. and she realizes that the place that she would like to start would be sex. She wants to methodically learn how to have sex. So she hires a prostitute named Michael. Now, I know people are gonna get upset at the word prostitute. I guess you could call him a sex worker. I'm one of those people that doesn't judge people for doing things like that. People kind of look at me like I'm weird, but I think there is a place for sex workers in our country. I'm a bit strange, but so when it came to Michael's character, I actually really liked him. I feel like some people are kind of turned off by his character because that's what he does for a living. But Michael also had a lot of depth to him. There was a reason why he was doing what he was doing, and there's a reason why Stella hired him. And their love story, because obviously they do end up having sex, he does try to teach her how to have sex, and it was more than that though. Like, I have never really heard anybody speak about this book other than they really liked it, so I didn't know that going into it, but I genuinely enjoyed it. I think Stella was so well done. I feel like the autism representation was really, really great in this, and I feel like Michael's character had a lot of depth. Now, Stella's character, I wish we could have gotten a little bit more like background and a little bit more information on her, which is why I ended up giving it 4 stars, but overall, like Michael's family, the relationships that he has with other people in his life, the relationship that Stella has with other people in her life, the overall representation for autism, as well as their little story, I would definitely give it 4 stars. And if you're interested in something like this and you're looking for autism rep, I think that this book does a fantastic job. Now I'm going to get into the books that I actually have here with me. The first one that I want to talk about is Full Metal Alchemist. This is the first edition. This is the Full Metal edition, so it's like a special edition one that I got. I think they're up to like 14 now, and I only have the first one. But I really like this. If you're not familiar with what this manga follows, it's actually about the Ulrich brothers. And one of them, the one on the front, actually decides to try to bring back his mom and doing some sort of blood magic essentially, and screws over his little brother. But they are these, I want to say like police, but not really. They're sort of soldiers that go around in their world and try to stop people from misusing the magic that they use. It's very confusing. I feel like a lot of people have probably already read or seen the anime as well, but I just gave this 5 stars because this is a reread for me, as well as I have seen both of the anime and love both of them and love this entire story. And if you're looking for a more heart-wrenching story, I feel like this is a good one to start with. Now, the next comic that I read, I didn't love. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I wish I would have loved it more than I did. It'd be Kiss number 8. This is a comic that we read for the Panels Book Club. I will list that down below for you guys. I wanted to love this, but I just didn't. It follows our main character, Mads, or Madison, I think is her full name. And she is coming to terms with the fact that she is gay. She does live in a more religious area. She does go to a private Catholic school. And that's really what this story follows. I wanted to love this story. However, these secondary characters drug this story down so much for me. So much for me. Her best friend's name is Kat, and I absolutely hated her. There's a lot of times in this story where I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of resolution, which is fine for me normally, but the longer I thought about it, the more I wanted to know kind of what happened with other characters in this book and what they truly thought of Mads. Also, there's a lot of derogatory speech in this. There's a lot of hate that happens throughout this story, and it's never really addressed, and it's never really spoken about how it's not okay, it's not cool, she shouldn't be spoken to like that, and it just continues throughout the entire story. So unfortunately, that is one thing that I didn't like about it. And because of Kat's character as well, I just ended up giving it 3 stars. I really wanted to like this, and I do appreciate the lesbian and transgender rep in this book, but I wish it was a little bit more easy to digest, because I know that people are spoken to like that, but the fact that the story doesn't really pay attention and doesn't really try to address those things and teach the reader that it's not okay to say things like that, that is why I ended up giving it 3 stars instead of 5. Now, the next book I read is actually a comic book, and that would be Low. I ended up giving this 3 stars as well. What this actually follows is a group of people, or pretty much all people on Earth, are forced to live underwater because the planet's surface is ruined from the sun becoming too close to the Earth. Now, I kind of relate to that because that is eventually going to happen to us. Like, I worry that one day we'll have to live underwater. So what I really liked about this book, I really like the characters in this. I think the characters were really well developed. There is a father-mother duo, and then their 3 children, their 2 daughters and their son. Now, this story primarily follows the mother of the group, as well as for a little while her son. And I really liked it. I really liked the kind of like dome fighting that they had going on within their community. I like the fact there was like a mech that they used to control, you know, like to fight other, I want to call them Goliaths, so that's not really, there are monsters under the sea. There are other communities that live in the sea as well. It just didn't sit right with me in some places though. There is gratuitous sex and violence in this, but it felt really heavy-handed, and I'm not quite sure how it really would be. I mean, because obviously this is fiction, but for some reason it just didn't seem realistic to me, and it really bugged me. I feel like the sex and the violence was thrown in there to kind of be jarring for people and to kind of make the comic seem a little bit more interesting, but it really drug down the story for me, and I didn't wholly love it. I ended up giving it 3 stars instead of 5, and I may read the second one just to see. I've heard good things. I've heard that the series does get better, but we'll have to see if I ever do pick up the second one, because I've actually had this one for I think almost 2 years. So I've had it for a while and I'm just now reading it. Now the next book I want to talk about is another comic book, and it'd be Strong Female Protagonist. I actually really liked this book. This follows our main character whose name, Allison, I was gonna say, I can't remember. Allison, and she is essentially a superhero. So there are these people that one day wake up and they have like superhero abilities. None of them are over the age of 15. Allison is one of them. Now the story seems pretty cut and dry when you think about it. She is a superhero, she's trying to protect people, but the story is more about finding yourself and when enough is enough and who's truly good and truly bad. And is there a point to superheroes if they only exist to fight other superhumans? If the superhero abilities, or I forget what they call them in the story, but people with abilities just went away, pretty much all the problems would be solved. And I really liked that. I feel like it addressed a lot of thoughts that I have when it comes to like superhero movies. It's part of the reason I'm not really into them. They only really exist to fight each other, and if they didn't exist, there wouldn't be a problem. But the story does have a lot of just being judged on who you are. There is another character in the story who is a lesbian, and she gets judged on that. And overall, it was really cool. Now, there is a webcomic that you can read this at. It is strongfemaleprotagonist.com, so it updates weekly there. I don't know if they're still updating it, but overall, I did really like this. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I have yet to write a review on it on Goodreads. Hopefully, by the time I put up this video, I will have done that, and you guys can check that out down below for my full review. But overall, I did really like it, and I would be interested in seeing a volume 2, but I think I might be losing out on that. I don't think they actually do that, so I'll just end up reading it online. And the last book I want to talk about, I saved for last because it is my favorite read of the month. It is The Meaning of Birds. Now, this book actually just became available to purchase in Walmart, which I think is fantastic because this is a great female-female romance story. So it follows our main character, Jess, or Jessica, and then Vivi, her girlfriend. Now, the story does actually open with Vivi dying. She does have what's called asthma, and she gets sick, and then she obviously has an asthma attack, and she does pass away very suddenly. Now, that leaves Jess to figure out kind of what she wants to do with her life. And Jess has a very brutal past. She did lose her dad in Afghanistan, and then on top of that, she is incredibly violent. That is something that her girlfriend Vivi was able to kind of help her with, but now that she has passed away, just all of that stuff is coming back up. She starts fighting at school again and does start getting in a lot of trouble. Now, I think this has great female-female love story. Oh my God, it's so good. As well as there are other gay couples in this as well. There's like a community of gay people in this. And I truly loved it. I think the story was very heartbreaking. I thought the story was very true to what would happen if someone that significant in your life passed away, like the hole that it would leave, as well as the discovery that Jess goes through after this happens. Over time, she starts to try to find herself again. And I thought it was a truly beautiful story. So I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I gave it 4 because I didn't 100% love it. Like, it's not a book that I'm like, oh my God, everybody needs to read, but I did truly enjoy it. And even though I do have other 5-star reads on my list that I read this month, for some reason, this is the one that sticks out as the one that I enjoyed the most. So just looking at it for enjoyment alone, I would give it 5 stars. But there's just something about it that didn't quite sit with me, and I think it might actually be a little bit more about Jess. She's a pretty unlikable character through a lot of the book, and that did kind of bring the story down for me, like the story overall, like the plot of the story, but I did still really enjoy reading it. So it's a really confusing kind of rating and why it is my favorite, but I did actually borrow this from the library, and I am actually looking to purchase it because I think it has great representation, and I would love to have this on my shelves to be able to recommend to people. So like I said, if you're looking for a good female-female romance, I think you'll really like this. All right, guys, so that is everything that I read in the month of April. Let me know down below your favorite read for the month of April or your least favorite read for the month of April, whichever one you prefer to share. But I hope you guys are doing well. I love you so much, and I will see you guys in my video tomorrow. Bye.